Good day, and welcome again to the Loch Valley in the Occitanie. I grew up with a grand old tree in the garden. It seemed immense, and Father built a tree house in it, and friends would come and clamber through the branches to reach it. Beneath it was a homespun swing for daredevil activities. A tree can bring joy for many, many reasons, and although we never did, some people literally hug trees to release the endorphins that improve senses of well-being and happiness. In pre-Christian Celtic Britain, trees were sacred and cherished as the gatekeepers of the other world. And the spiritual significance of trees crosses cultures. Today, people still have a deep emotional contact with trees, as shown by the sadness expressed when in 2023 the Sycamore Gap tree in the UK was maliciously destroyed. Now, the Bible opens and closes with talk of trees, so this creation time is a good moment to remember those verses. Genesis tells us that God made every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. And a tree of life was in the middle of that garden that contained the knowledge of good and evil. Eating the fruit of the tree came with a warning of death. But there is a verse in the book of the Revelation where the right to eat the fruit of the tree is restored to those who listen to the Spirit. Now, I'm drawn to the idea about the tree and knowledge. And that English saying springs to mind: a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. A small amount of knowledge can mislead individuals into believing they are more expert than is actually the case. How often are we guilty of that? And there are so many obvious applications of this danger in our times. A good example would be diagnosing and treating our own illnesses based on internet searches rather than seeking an experienced doctor. I'm guilty of that one too. But we should always be wary of snippets of knowledge and of people dealing in them. We should always look for context, to the ambition of the purveyor of the knowledge, and check different sources before believing anything is written in stone. This should apply to all matters of medical science, finance, politics, and yes, even to biblical matters. Take, for example, those who think they can know the date of the end of the world by interpreting various verses in the Bible. It may have passed you by, but September the 23rd just gone was a time identified as a moment of the rapture, a time when Jesus would return and take his faithful followers to himself. Others are literally eagerly awaiting the outcome of the present war in the Holy Land and praying for the coming of their glorious day. Encouraging the use of Bible verses to influence such present-day political scenarios is very dangerous indeed. Old Testament prophetic sayings and apocalyptic language in the New Testaments on which this is based are poetic and full of idioms that are difficult to fathom, and their interpretation has been hotly debated since the time of the early church fathers. The book of Revelation itself was late being admitted to the biblical canon, and the Eastern Orthodox Church do not include readings of it in their divine liturgy. I, rather like John Calvin, am careful not to say too much on it for fear that my little knowledge of it might indeed be a dangerous thing. We should be very cautious and gentle in our handling of such material. The symbolism of the tree of life is very popular in our times. Jewellery, pictures and embroidered representations are found in secular settings as well as churches. And so it provides us with an in when discussing matters of faith with those exploring their spirituality. Because Jesus is often referred to as the tree of life, and some believe Jesus is indeed the tree of life in Genesis and in Revelation. Could even be said he referenced himself when he spoke of a branch bearing fruit of wisdom and understanding that would come from his lineage, the line of Jesse. The symbolism creates a picture that appeals to those of us who struggle with the traditional imagery around kingship, as well as for those who connect with God through the miracle and wonder of life itself. I like it that as the tree of life, Jesus replaces those old gatekeepers, providing the new connection between heaven and earth, dying and renewal, now and the hereafter, all without losing that deeply ingrained attachment to trees so many people cherish. And so today, as Creation Tide draws to a close, I wanted to share this splendid tree with you. I pass by regularly, and its curious forked trunk helps me to reflect on the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then that extra little fourth fork I've named Wisdom. It is one of my many churches without walls here in this place. A place to give thanks for all the trees in our lives that nurture our planet and have nurtured us. To give praise to God for all the glorious nature we can see. Trees in any community can be a signpost for our prayers and our thanks for the life in God's creation and for the life everlasting offered by Jesus Christ. Thank you for joining me again. Until next time, may we all recognise God's blessings.